All right, so we've done 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. Yesterday, y'all did a worksheet on 4.3 and turned it in before the bell rang. This is 4.4. We're going to be factoring ax squared plus bx plus c when a is not equal to 1. So all the ones that you did on the worksheet yesterday, this was a 1. They were very easy and pretty straightforward. These are a lot more difficult. Okay, but before we start on that, we need to talk about some skills. So everything that I'm going to do right now before I start factoring problems like that is going to be teaching you skills to make you better factorers. Okay? So let's look at, we did some of these like this yesterday. So I'm going to kind of show you, y'all figured them out yesterday, but I'm going to show you something easy about them. Okay? So do you remember factoring problems like this yesterday? X squared minus 36. Do you remember that? Okay. Does anybody know what that's called? It has a name. It's special. Okay. It is a binomial, but it is called that, but it has some other name. All right. So what does this sign mean? Difference of two perfect squares. That's exactly what this is called. This right here is called the difference of two perfect squares. Okay? Now, what's awesome about this is it's very easy for us to factor. Okay? It will always factor into the square root of the first plus the square root of the second times the square root of the first minus the square root of the second. All right? Always going to factor it. So it's really easy and it doesn't take me long to factor it. When I see two terms, I look and I go, oh, is that the difference of two perfect squares? Yes, it is. So tell me what x squared minus 36 factors into. What's the square root of the first? X plus what's the square root of the second? 6 times square root of the first minus square root of the second. Fast and easy, okay? Now, let me show you why all this is happening. So, first of all, in order to have a negative 36 on the end, you know that you have to be multiplying unlike terms, signs, okay? So, when I multiply a positive 6 times a negative 6, I will get a negative 36. Now, notice what's in the middle of this thing. This thing has nothing, 0 x's, okay? And this is why. Because when you fold this, your inners give you a positive 6x, and your outers give you a negative 6x. What happens with a positive 6x and a negative 6x? Yeah, they cancel each other out, and you got 0. Okay? So that's why that one factors. Let's see how good you are. Are you ready? Here's yours. X squared minus 100. X squared minus 100. See if you can factor it. I'll give you about a minute. No, I'll give you 20 seconds. Okay, so this is what it factors into. Square root of the first plus square root of the second. Square root of the first minus square root of the second. All right, what's the square root of the first?
X plus 6. X plus
X
10.
Plus 10 and what?
X minus 10.
X minus 10. Very good. Pretty cool, right? All right, here's your next one. 4x squared minus 25. 4x squared minus 25. Okay, you got it? What's he factoring to?
2x plus 5, 2x
And?
minus 5.
2x minus 5. Very good. All right, one last one. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. X squared plus 64. All right, y'all got the answer? What is it?
X plus 8x minus 8.
Okay, so let's think about this for a second, all right? I'm gonna write this in pencil.
Oh wait, it's both plus, huh?
It's both plus signs, x plus 8 times. Oh, okay, so this one's a problem, right? So, yes, positive 8 times positive 8 will give me a 64, but what about your inners and their outers? Are they gonna cancel out? No, you got a plus 8x and a plus 8x. That's 16x. There is no 16x here, okay? What is the name of this? Difference of two perfect squares. Is that a difference? Y'all, this is not possible. He doesn't factor. Okay? Not possible. He does not factor. The sum of two perfect squares never factors. And here's why. In order to get that positive 64, you have to have like signs, and like signs will not cancel out. Okay? The only way to make those inners and outers cancel out is to have unlike signs, and that's going to give you a negative. And that's why it's called the difference of two perfect squares. It's not called the difference or sum of two perfect squares. The sum will not factor. Do you think they're going to test you on that? They are. They're going to see, do you know what you're talking about? Okay? The sum of two perfect squares will never, ever factor. Okay? Now, there's something else that's really cool about this. All these things, if I'm up in, all these things right here, these three things, they have a name, okay? They're called conjugates. Conjugates. Conjugates are very, very important. Just in this chapter, they're going to come up 2 more times in a different aspect, okay? You're going to have to use conjugates to make something happen, all right? And both of them, they're going to be a little bit different, but it's still, you need to know what a conjugate is, okay? So let's talk about what a conjugate. Look at these two things. First of all, how many terms does each one of them have? 2? 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms. Okay, so what do you call something with 2 terms? Binomial. So he's a binomial where, now tell me what you notice about those 2 terms. Are they the same in the front and the back? Yes? X and 6, X and 6, X and 10, X and 10. One's positive and one's negative. So a binomial where the first and second terms are the same, but the sign, and I'm going to put in the middle, okay? The sign in the middle is different. Okay, the sign in the middle is different. So I'm going to let's list some examples of some conjugates and make sure that you understand exactly what a conjugate is. Okay, so I'm going to write one down here, x plus 3. And I want you to tell me what his conjugate is. What is it?
-3.
You got to have everything. X minus 3.
Oh, we're just flipping it?
Yep, that's all. Isn't that what this look at these conjugates. X plus 10, X minus 10. X plus 6, X minus 6. 2X plus 5, 2X minus 5. Okay? No, we're just writing conjugates. So X plus 3, what's his conjugate? X minus 3. What about 2X minus 7? What's his conjugate? 2X plus 7. Is this hard? No. Okay, what about this one? X minus 16, what's his conjugate? X plus 16. Anybody got a question? Okay, we're gonna do one more. This one's gonna be tricky, okay? It's gonna be tricky. I'm gonna try to trick you. But y'all listen to me, these rules apply. Okay, so don't say the answer out loud, just write it down. Negative X plus 17. Negative X plus 17. What's his conjugate? Very good. Negative X minus 17. So what's tricky about that? What's the common mistake that kids make?
Change the X to positive.
Yeah, they want to change this X to a positive X, and it doesn't. The first stays the same, and the last is the same. You're just going to change the sign in the middle. Okay? All right, good job. Okay, so now let's see how good your memory is. Okay? Let's see if you remember the 4 steps to square a binomial. All right, the 4 steps to square a binomial. I'm talking about like a plus b quantity squared and a minus b quantity squared. All right, remember we learned how to square a binomial in less than 5 seconds. Okay, so what was the first thing you had to do? Square the first. What was the second thing you had to do? Mm-hmm. So whatever this sign is, I had to keep it, all right? What was the third thing you had to do? Twice the product. Okay, so, well, I'll show you in just a minute. What's the last thing?
Square the last one.
Square the last. And what kind of sign is it always gonna have?
A positive.
Positive. So plus square the last. Okay? Plus square the last. So let's see if we can work one. All right? So let's do this guy right here. Okay? I'm gonna call out the rules and you're gonna tell me what the answer is. So here are the rules. I'm following these rules. Square the first.
A squared
A squared. Keep the sign.
plus
Plus. Twice their product. So their product is what you get when you multiply the first times the last. A times B. Twice that would be what?
2AB.
2AB. Y'all remember why it's like that? Because when you multiply A plus B times A plus B, see, squaring the first is first times first. When you do the outers and the inners, you get A times B on the inners and A times B on the outers. So you have 2 of those, so that's why you're doubling it. And then at the very last, plus square the last, what do you get? Plus B squared. Okay? Let's do this guy right here. So you tell me the rules and I'll tell you the answers. Same loud.
Square the first.
A squared
Keep sign
minus,
twice product
okay, the product is still AB, so twice that would be 2AB, and
plus square last.
plus B squared. All right, anybody got a question? Y'all remember doing these? Okay, so let's try about 3 problems. Okay, we're gonna try about 3 problems. So here's the first problem. X plus 3 quantity squared. I want you to square it. You got 6 seconds. Okay, you got it? So, square the first, x squared. Keep the sign, plus. Twice their product,
6.
yeah. So their product is 3 times x, so twice that would be 6x. Plus square the last,
9.
very good. Anybody got a question? All right, let's try another one. X minus 4 quantity squared. Go, you have 5 seconds. X minus 4 quantity squared. Okay, you got it? So we're gonna square the first, x squared, keep the sign minus, the product is 4x, so twice that would be 8x, plus square the last, 16. Anybody got a question? Okay, here's the last one, he's the most difficult. 6x minus 8y, quantity squared. 6x minus 8y, quantity squared. All right. Square the first. What did you get, guys?
36.
36x.
Very good. So remember, when you square the first, you have to square everybody, the number and the variable. So 36x squared. Keep the sign, minus. What is their product?
48.
Yeah, 6 times 8 is 48. X, Y. What's twice that? 96 x, y. Very good. Plus, square the last. What do you get? 64 y squared. All right. So, anybody got a question so far? Okay, so this seems a little silly, right? Like, we're supposed to be factoring. I mean, that's what the title of the lesson is. And we're multiplying. Okay? But, let's think about this. What is factoring really doing in math? No. What are you really doing?
What did you say?
What is factoring really doing? There's 4 operations in math. Okay? Let's say there's 4 operations in math. Which one of those is factoring?
Multiplication.
No.
Division.
Division. Factoring is dividing something out. Okay? It's taking something out. It is dividing it out. So, you know those kids, you were probably in school with some of them, in the 4th and 5th grade, and they don't know, they can't do long division. Do you know why they can't do long division?
Because it's hard.
Because they didn't learn their multiplication.
That is exactly right. Because they didn't learn their multiplication facts. Y'all listen to me. Think how hard it would be for a kid. Let's pretend that you don't know your multiplication facts. And the teacher says, how many times does 6 go into 27? And you're like, 42? I mean, you have no earthly idea. Because you don't know what 6 times 2 is, 6 times 3, 6 times 4, 6 times 5. Do you see what I'm saying? So you don't know your multiplication facts. You can't divide. So, guess what? If you can't multiply and do things like this, you won't be able to factor. Okay? So when you understand the multiplication process, the full method, and we learn some shortcuts to it, then it's a lot easier. So, and here's another thing. If I can teach you a fast way to do something, do you like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I show you a very fast way to factor the difference of 2 perfect squares? Okay, so I'm going to show you another fast way. Okay, it has to do with these guys right here. It's talking about a perfect square trinomial. Okay, a perfect square trinomial. How will I know if something is a perfect square trinomial? Well, if it's a perfect square trinomial, my first term is a perfect square. How long does that take me to figure out? Yeah, not even 2 seconds. You look at it and you go, yep or no. Okay? Now, here's the next thing. My last term, your last term has to be plus a perfect square. Can't be a minus, guys. Has to be plus a perfect square. So there's another second or so. All right? Now here's the one. I'm going to go ahead and write it down. Some of you will be like, what? What are you talking about? But when I do it, you'll see it's not very hard. The middle term is twice the square root product. Okay? Twice the square root product. Okay, so I'm going to use these examples that we have up here. And I'm going to show you how easy this is going to be. Are you with me? So I'm gonna start with this guy right here. I wanna check and see if he's a perfect square trinomial. All right, so he has three terms, do you agree? Is this guy a perfect square? Of what? Of what? X, okay? Is this guy plus a perfect square? Of what? 3. Is this middle guy twice their product? Then guess what, people? There's the answer written down. Square root of the first. Always keep this first sign. The last sign will always be positive, but I'm going to keep the first sign. Square root of the last, quantity squared. That's right. We're doing it in reverse. Okay? So let's look at this guy right here. All right? This is what I'm asking myself. Is it special? Y'all, special things are difference of two perfect squares and perfect square trinomials. We're going to learn some other ones, but these are the only ones that we've learned so far. Okay? So is this a perfect square trinomial? Is this a perfect square? Yes. And I like to write it above it because then my answer is just written down. Okay? Is this a perfect square? Of what?
4.
Is this middle one twice their product?
Yes.
So what does he factor into?
X minus 4.
Quantity squared. Okay? All right, let's do this guy over here. Is this guy a perfect square?
Yes.
Of what?
6.
Is this guy a perfect square?
Yes.
Of what?
8.
Is this guy twice their product? Well, 6 times 8 is 48.
Yeah.
48 times 2 is 96. So what does he factor into?
6x minus 8y squared.
Very good. Now, that's a whole lot easier to factor that out than it would be if you just did factor. Let's see, what are the factors of 36? 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 5 and nothing, 6 and 6. You've got 5 possibilities right there, people. Okay? And you haven't even talked about the possibilities of 64, 1 and 64, 2 and 32, 3 and nothing, 4 and 16, 5 and nothing, 6 and nothing, 7 and nothing, 8 and 8. You think about how many possibilities you got with all those on the front and all those on the back. We did it in 3 seconds.
You can factor it as long as it's perfect square.
Yes. That's exactly right. Okay, so now let's practice. Okay, now we're going to start practicing factoring. All right. So, here we go. I'm going to share all the tips that I can with you, okay? So, factoring trinomials. Factoring trinomials. These are the first 2 things that I ask myself every single time I'm going to factor something because it makes my life easier. Number 1, ask yourself, can I take anything out? Can I factor something out of this trinomial that will make it easier for me to factor it? Or in some cases, it will make it where I can factor it, okay? Some cases it'll make it easier and some it just makes it factorable, all right? The second thing, are you special? Because if he's special, man, we can factor that thing so fast, okay? Now, what are the only 2 special ones we've learned? Difference of 2 perfect squares. And a perfect square trinomial. Okay? Difference of 2 perfect squares and a perfect square trinomial. All right. Now, before we start on our problems, I have 7 problems for us to do. I don't know if we'll get through with them all. Yeah, we probably will. Okay, so before I start, I want you to listen to me, okay? There are lots of different ways to teach factoring. For you guys in pre-AP Algebra 2, this is the best way, okay? It is not the only way. I've taught it a lot of different ways. There's people that have some tricks and stuff out there. I've used the tricks. The next year, because normally the kids that I teach, I usually teach them in pre-AP Algebra 2 and then in pre-cal. The next year, those kids were like, they were terrible at factoring. And I was like, well, that didn't go over so well. So we went back to the old way, okay? This is the way that I learned how to factor. I will share some things that will make it a little bit easier with you, but I think this is the best way for you to learn how to factor. Is this the only way to factor? No, it's not. So here's what I would say. Let's work on it about 4 days, and if you still haven't caught on, then we'll talk about another way, okay? But you're gonna have a lot of practice, and you're gonna be factoring a lot. So I think that probably most of you will catch on. You may not like it, but the more you practice, the better you're gonna get, okay? So I will share with you if I see something that will help you and make it better and easier for you. But y'all, most of the time, this is just like put your waders on. It's fixing to get deep, and it's not gonna be pretty, it's gonna be messy. Our teachers said, bring a big eraser to class next day, we're gonna factor, okay? And so we just erased our paper a lot. So let's just start off and then we'll see how it goes. Example 1, 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. Okay, so I'm gonna ask myself these two questions every time. So, looking at this trinomial right here, can I take anything out? No. Everybody doesn't have an x, and nothing goes into 5 and 17, so you can just stop. I don't even care about the last one because you can't factor anything out of the first two. Okay, so if you can't take it out of everybody, you can't take it out of anybody. So now, what I will do is I will list the factors of the first and the factors of the last. And I'm going to put them right above them. I'm not going to write them somewhere else on my paper. It's this problem, so I'm going to put them right here. What are the factors of 5?
1 times 5.
What are the factors of 6?
2 and 3.
Start off, be organized.
1 and 6.
1 and 6, 2 and 3, and then 3 and 2. So I know I'm finished. Does everybody agree? Okay? So I'm just going to work this problem. The more you work, I'm going to use a pencil, guys. And you don't see, I don't write with a pencil very often back here, okay? Because it's kind of hard to see. The more you do, the better you're going to get. You'll start to see things. And then tomorrow, I'll show you what I do, but I'm not going to show you today. I'm going to let you work about 8 or 12 problems and just kind of let you get familiar with them. You'll start to see things yourself. And then I'll show you one little trick that I do that helps me not have to erase quite so much. Okay? So, it has to be 5x and x. You could put 1x and 5x. That doesn't make any difference. But it is, I always put the bigger number first. I don't know why, I just do. What does this plus sign at the end mean? They're going to be the same. And they're going to be the same as this first sign, right? So a minus and a minus. I have no earthly idea what it is, so I'm just going to put 1 and 6 in there. 1 and 6. And then what you're going to do is you're going to check your inners and your outers. You're going to see if it makes negative 17. So negative 1 times x is negative 1x. Negative 6 times 5x is negative 30x. Does that make negative 17? So now what do I need to do?
2 and 3.
Before you go to 2 and 3, let's flip 1 and 6, okay? Because then if it doesn't work this other way, then what do I know about 1 and 6? No, it's not 1 and 6, okay? So let's go ahead and try it this way. So let's do this 6 here and a 1 here. So now I'll do my inners, negative 6x, and my outers, negative 5x. Is that negative 17x? So what do we know about 1 and 6? Yeah, it ain't 1 and 6. Okay, so now let's try 2 and 3. Do you see what I mean? It's just it's guess and check, people. That's what it is. So 2 and 3. I know it seems tedious at first, but as you do it, you start to see things and your brain will start picking up and you'll get a lot faster at it. Okay, so negative 2x and negative 15x.
Yeah.
Is that negative 17?
Yeah.
Then that's my answer. All right, anybody got a question? Okay, so let's just try another one. Example 2. 3x squared plus 20x minus 7. 3x squared minus 20x plus 7. I'm going to do the exact same thing, guys. All right? I'm going to say, can I take anything out? No. Is it special? No. It's not two terms, so obviously it's not the difference of two perfect squares. And this is not a perfect square, so it can't be a perfect square trinomial. So I'm just going to factor it like this. I'm going to list the factors of 3. What are the factors of 3? 1 and 3. What are the factors of 7?
1 and 7.
1 and 7. Well, this one shouldn't be so hard at all, right? So this is 3x and x. What's a minus sign at the end? Different signs. I like to go ahead and put mine in there. Some kids don't, but I always do. Okay? So, and I'm just going to try 1 and 7. 1 and 7. So I'll check it. Positive 1x. Negative 21x. And I got a negative 20x.
You need to swap the signs.
Oh, okay. So listen to this. This is really important. Is the number right?
Yes.
Then don't mess with the numbers, okay? If the number's right, you leave the numbers alone. The sign's wrong, so what do we need to change? The signs. We'll make this a plus 7, and we'll make this a minus 1. And then this becomes a negative 1x, and this becomes a positive 21x, and there's my positive 20x. Okay? Anybody got a question? All right, let's try another one. Example 3. 4x squared minus 9x plus 2. Can I take anything out? Yes or no?
No.
No? Is he special? Why is he not special? 2's not a perfect square, people. Okay? 4x squared is a perfect square, but 2's not. So he's not special. All right? So we're just going to factor him like this. Okay? Let's list the factors of 4. Be organized. Start at the 1 and move up until you flipped them or you stacked them upon themselves. So 1 and 4, 2 and 2. So that's stacked upon itself. That means you're finished. What are the only factors of 2? 1 and 2. Okay, so I'm gonna share a secret with you. That most of the time, did I say all the time? Most of the time, I'm going to start right here in these middle. I'm not going to start with this extreme guy, okay? I'm going to start right here with my 2 and my 2. So I'm going to start there. 2x and 2x. What does a plus sign at the end mean?
Same sign.
They're the same sign, and they're the same as the first sign. So minus and minus. I'm just going to put my 1 and 2 in there and check it. 1 and 2. My inners say a negative 2x, and my outers say a negative 4x. Is that negative 9? No. Do I need to flip these two?
No.
Why?
Because they're both like 2x.
Yeah, both these front terms are 2x, so flipping them's not going to change anything. Okay? So what does that tell me? Yeah, 2 and 2 don't work, guys. It's the 1 and the 4. Okay? So I'm going to put the 4 and the 1 in here. 4 and 1. You can write the 1 if you want to, or you don't have to. I'm going to check it. Negative 1x. The outers make negative 8x. And there is my negative 9x. Okay, so now let me tell you something. I knew it wasn't the 2 and the 2 when we started. Okay? So I'm going to tell you how I knew. Because I'm going to say most of the time it is not going to be the 1 and the something. But whenever you start here and it doesn't work and you go, wow, that doesn't factor. It's because it's the 1 and the something, and they don't do that very often. But if you look at this middle term, and this middle term is an extreme number, like extremely large or extremely small. And I don't mean like extremely large like 900. I mean multiply this front number times the back number. What's 4 times 2? 8. So if it's really close to 8 or really close to 1, that's an extreme. That means you're going to probably use the 1 and the 4. Okay? All right, let's try another one. Example 4. 16x squared minus 1. Okay, I'm going to let you do it. 16x squared minus 1. Okay, you got it? All right, so here's what you asked yourself. Could you take anything out?
No.
No. Is it special?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that's a perfect square and that's a perfect square. That's the difference of two perfect squares. I can factor this thing with a pen in no time at all. What's the square root of the first? 4x plus, what's the square root of the second? 1. And then 4x, what?
Minus 1.
Minus 1. What are those called?
Difference of two
Nah,
squares.
what are these two things called?
Binomials.
Nope.
Perfect squares, binomials.
Nope. Conjugates. I heard someone say it over there. Conjugates. Conjugates, okay? Very good. They give you the difference of two perfect squares when you multiply conjugates, all right? That's going to be really important. All right, so here's your next one. Are you ready? Now, I didn't give you very long because should that have taken very long? No. When they're special, they go fast. All right, here's yours. 4y squared plus 20y plus 25. Okay, you got it? Yes or no? Yes? Some of y'all are shaking your head, some of y'all are like, I'm not talking to you. Okay, so, can you take anything out? No. 4 and 20 looks good, but 25 messes it up, right? Okay, and everybody doesn't have a y. So, is it special?
Yes.
Yes, it is. This is the perfect square of 2y. This is the perfect square of 5. Is that middle term twice their product?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So now, he's easy to do. Do you understand? 2y plus 5 quantity squared. All right? Here you go. Next to the last one. Example 6. 36y squared minus 12y plus 1. Go. 36y squared plus 12 minus 12y plus 1. Okay, you got it? Can you take anything out?
No.
No. Is it special?
Yes.
Yes. What is he the perfect square of?
6y.
What's he the perfect square of?
1.
Is he twice their product?
Yes.
What does it factor into?
6y minus 1 squared.
Very good. Very good. Good job, guys. All right, we're gonna do one last one and then we're gonna be finished. Okay, so this is example 7. 4x squared minus 25x plus 6. I'm gonna work this one with you, okay? Because I'm gonna kind of talk about some stuff. All right, so first of all, can you take anything out?
No.
No, you look at the 4 and 6 and you think, oh, maybe a 2, but 25 messes that up, okay? So, and everybody doesn't have an X, so they don't come out. Is it special? No. I look at the 4 and 25 and my brain goes, oh, I bet it is, but 6 is not a perfect square, so it's not. So, what are the factors of 4? 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. What are the factors of 6?
1 and 6, 2 and 3.
Very good. Okay? Now, I'll start right here. Okay? And I'm going to have to decide, do I want to use the 1 and the 4 or the 2 and the 2?
The 1 and 4.
Why?
Because 6 times 4 is 24.
Very good. 4 times 6 is 24 and 25 is very close to that. If it's really close to that, whatever you get when you, the product of that first and last, or if it's close to 1, that's an extreme, okay? So yes, I'm gonna start, now does that mean it's always gonna be this? No, it's just a good say, it gives me a good option, all right? So I'm gonna go 4x and 1x, okay? What's a plus sign mean?
They're going to be different.
They're going to be the same as this guy, minus and minus. Okay? What do you want to do? You want to try 1 and 6 or 2 and 3?
1 and 6.
1 and 6? 1 and 6. Negative 1x and negative 24x makes negative 25x.
Yay.
Okay? Now, before you stop, I'm going to show you what I do, okay? So, I chose this 1 and this 4, okay? And before I put it down here, I do it up here. If you're good at it right now, you'll understand what I'm saying. If you're not good at it, then don't worry about it, okay? I'm going to show you again later on tomorrow, okay? So, what I do is I look at this, and I go across and multiply, and I go diagonal and multiply. This is my cheater sign. He's telling me to add them. So 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 6 is 24. 1 and 24 make 25. That told me which ones to use. Do you understand? If it hadn't have worked, I would have said 1 times 6 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. And 6 and 4 make 10. If this had been a 10, that would have been what I would have used. Okay? So that's just one of the tricks that I do. So I'm going to give you out a worksheet. I want you to try to work the front page tonight, okay? I want you to try to work the front page tonight. I'm going to stop that video and pass this out. Even if you don't get the whole front page work, if you could at least work 8 of the problems, you'll be tons better off tomorrow than if you didn't.